up guys, Sean here, and today we're going to talk about battening versus no bullshit.
Hey guys, and welcome back. So just as a forewarning, this video is a follow-up to my last video on no bullshit. If you're over this topic, I don't blame you. This will be my last video on this topic. In fact, I didn't even plan on making a response video unless it was responding to no bullshit himself. Luckily, I didn't have to respond to either of no bullshit's responses because number one, they weren't actual responses, and they really spoke for themselves. He made two videos, one claiming that myself and a few other YouTubers doxed him and went on to compare us to the KKK after getting called out by his friend Andy Worski because he wasn't fucking doxed. Andy said that he should apologize for falsely accusing people of doxing him, at which time he made the cringiest fake apology video ever. Because this was the way that he responded to my video, I didn't really feel it necessary to respond back, but then I got some notifications over on the Twitter, a video criticizing my video on no bullshit. Now I was simply going to respond in a comment on this video, but then no bullshit endorsed this video and claimed it was a good debunk of my video. You see that, Brooks? You don't even have to privately message big channels to do your dirty work for you.
Now, one of the first things that I noticed about Battening's video is that there are 6 people who are credited as helping him make this video. So that means 7 people total participated in the making of this video. Just so you know, I plan to bring up the fact that it took 7 people to make this video several times throughout the course of this video that I'm making now. And to emphasize that I'm hammering home this point, I will try my best to remember to pick up this hammer every time I bring up that point.
Now this video starts off on the worst point that he could have gone after, and it's not just the start of this video, it's actually throughout the entire video, over and over and over again.
There are 6 people, 7 people total. It took 7 people to make this video. When you put together a crack team of 7 people, unfortunately for Battening and his crack team of 7 people, Battening and his team of 7 people who worked on this video, you only have 7 people working on this video. One of you 7 people, Battening, and the 7 people who worked on this video. Seriously, 7 people got together and made this video. One of the 7 people who worked on this video, according to Battening, and the 7 people who worked on this video, it took 7 people to make.
Now in the description of my video, which you conveniently put in yours, I have a little spot where I say thank you to all of those who contributed and helped with this video. Now this is the part where I have to explain to you what contributions mean. This does not mean that I had a crack team of 7 people working on this video night and day. No, this was 99.9% me, and these people contributed something to me. For instance, one of them made the cartoon in the middle of the video. One of them provided me with raw footage for the end of my video. These are contributions. This does not mean that we all sat around at a table and made this video together. And the fact that this is like the big point that you wanted to stress in your video is fucking bizarre because it's not a good point at all, and I can't believe that you wouldn't see this.
In the next part of the video, Battening and his team of 7 people who worked on this video decide to paint No BS as a conservative parody. And the video that he uses to highlight this is Brooks's video on Spider-Man Homecoming. But to pretend that representation in casting has not been a big issue for the left wing in America, have you not heard of the Oscar So White campaigns? Like, what's wrong with you?
Okay, so the point I'm making about this Spider-Man clip is that he sees social justice everywhere, and that he had to make an entire video on the SJW moments in Spider-Man when there weren't really many. Now, has diversity been pushed down our throats in Hollywood? Absolutely. Look at fucking Black Annie and Ghostbusters. Neither of which made sense. But Brooks makes a huge point about diversity in Spider-Man Homecoming, even though the movie takes place in New York, which is diverse, and even acknowledges it in his video.
The film is of course set in the Queens borough of New York City, one of the most diverse neighborhoods in our country, so multiculturalism is to be expected.
When the biggest point in your video is that the casting being diverse is SJW, and then you turn around and say something like that, it completely invalidates what you just said.
The only nitpick here would be Peter Parker's love interest, almost all black chick here.
You see, when watching Battening's video, you might get the impression that the thing that No BS had a problem with was the casting of a half-black actress as Peter's love interest. Well, if you actually let that clip run, you'll figure out that that is exactly the opposite of what he was saying. It's not even that girl being the love interest that bothered him. It's the other love interest, which is played by Zendaya, or Zenata, or Zeta. Zeta Project, that's who plays that actress.
My only nitpick here would be Peter Parker's love interest. He starts off crushing on Liz, the hot, almost all black chick here, who's fucking 27 years old in real life. Can you guys believe that? Anyway, that love story doesn't really pan out by the end of the movie, and it appears Zendaya's character is set up to be his next love interest in the next movie or something like that. I mean, the girl says her nickname is MJ at the end. That's gotta mean something if you follow Spider-Man stories at all.
And the problem he had is actually a problem that a lot of people had, is that they made her character named Michelle, but her nickname MJ. So instead of actually going through with it and casting a half-black actress as Mary Jane, they cast her as Michelle, but made her nickname MJ.
Okay, so for somebody who claims that I'm taking no bullshit out of context, you seem to have accidentally missed a very important clip from my video.
If the only thing you have to complain about here is the race of the main character in a movie, we've truly devolved the debate into trivial nonsense. My only nitpick here would be Peter Parker's love interest, almost all black chick here. If the only thing you have to complain about here is the race of the main character in a movie, we've truly devolved the debate into trivial nonsense.
Oh shit, it seems like that was one of the reasons why I was criticizing him, because he's a complete fucking hypocrite. But it's okay, I'm sure you accidentally left that out. He even confirmed this in the live stream.
With even though she was a black actress, right? Like that was sort of his shot at you, I think.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, I think I went over this also this morning in another talk. Basically, it was like, oh, I criticized Mary Jane in Spider-Man movie, and I said I had a problem with her being blackwashed. But then I also on another hand, I was criticizing people who said Ghost in the Shell was whitewashed. So it's like, it's kind of like they're trying to say, I can't say both of those things at the same time. And I think I can.
So yes, it did have everything to do with the race of the main character.
Now the following clip is another complete misrepresentation and another lie by omission on the part of Battening.
Today's topic, something else I don't think anyone is talking about regarding Game of Thrones. The show appears to be going full feminist and slightly SJW. A girl power sort of theme this season is undeniable.
You see, the foundation for the point that No Bullshit is a parody of a conservative YouTuber is the fact that he's seeing SJW stuff where there isn't any SJW stuff. You see, if you go to No Bullshit's original video on Game of Thrones, there's a part that Battening, for some reason, decided not to show you. And that's the part where the showrunners for Game of Thrones talk about how they had to infuse feminism into Game of Thrones once they realized all these women were around the table discussing power.
The exact same information and situation being put forward by a bunch of old grizzled guys with gray beards, it would have been a lot less interesting to have it be Amelia at one end of the table and Diana at the other end of the table. To me, that just is such a breath of fresh air.
And you can hear his negative take on men here.
You're not delusional when you see the two showrunners for Game of Thrones saying that this is a feminist scene, and you decide to talk about the feminism in that scene.
What the hell are you talking about? Nowhere in that clip do the showrunners say or even imply that this is a feminist scene.
The two showrunners for Game of Thrones saying that this is a feminist scene.
You're guilty of doing the exact same thing that I accused No Bullshit of doing, finding shit where it isn't. In fact, this clip from South by Southwest earlier this year shows the same showrunners describing why there are more prominent female roles.
And this comes from, even from when we read the books initially, like we realized, it's an awful world that the story takes place in, but there were more, in George's books, were more compelling female characters who had agency, who were out there, they weren't secondary to anybody, they weren't anybody's like right-hand woman or wife. They were out there and they were had their own storylines in this world. There were more of them than any show we'd ever seen. Now, obviously, they're like The Sopranos had amazing female characters, lots of depth, but I think that it seemed like a very actress-centric show before we even started, just from the source material. So that was, a fun thing for us.
Oh, how feminist of them.
Seriously, 7 people got together.
Ugh, fuck, you can see how hard it was to make it through this.
Hitler did nothing wrong, which there is a strong argument for.
Okay, so the next part of Inspector's video, he goes over the Holocaust stuff that I went over. Now, I'm not going to show the exact same clip all over again, but if you didn't watch my video, I showed 2 instances where Brooks has said some kind of wonky shit about the Holocaust. The first being a Twitter conversation where Brooks either makes fun of somebody and trolls somebody who claims to have lost family in the Holocaust, or legitimately compares people dying in concentration camps to people who died in the war. The second clip was a Hitler didn't do nothing thing from a live stream that he was on. Now, as I said in the Worski live stream, I don't think anybody believes that Brooks thinks Hitler didn't do anything wrong, but when you look at his past about saying wonky shit about the Jews and the Holocaust, it really doesn't help your case to make a Hitler didn't do nothing joke. I mean, do you think that I included all of his Jewish comments in my video? No, I left stuff out for the response of the response. Do you remember the Rebel Media video that he did, where he came off so anti-Semitic that he had to actually pin his top comment as him saying, hey guys, I'm not actually anti-Semitic, but in that very comment making himself actually look even worse?
I mean, is he really surprised media companies want to make money? One ran by a Jew, no less. So we got this poor little millionaire Jew playing the victim here. Pretty fucking pathetic guy. I mean, I'm trying to hear the guy out, but he really just seems to be so shifty and sketchy. And I'm not just saying that because it's a Jewish thing. He's acting that way.
I actually am Jewish.
Obviously you're a Jew. Look at that schnoz.
But with that being said, let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, that's right. Included in this video are a couple of tweets and a Dindu joke about Hitler. And all of a sudden, no bullshit's a Holocaust denier. No bullshit, Nazi.
First off, these are not just tweets. He is making fun of somebody who lost family in the Holocaust. You can say, oh, that's just him tweeting. But that doesn't change the fact that he made fun of somebody who lost family in the Holocaust. And I never said that he was a Nazi. I never said that he was even a Holocaust denier. In fact, in the stream that you claim to have watched on Worski's channel, I said the complete fucking opposite.
Okay, well, needless to say, I don't believe Hitler did nothing wrong. If anyone's curious or thinks that is a serious statement,
okay,
no, that is, I think that's a ridiculous thing to take seriously from someone. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I don't think that anybody thinks that you believe that Hitler didn't do nothing. I don't think there's anybody. But when you pair that with the other things,
I mean, that's what Roz said. That's why he started attacking me.
Hold on. No, hold on.
He posted that clip and he's like, what? And I'm like, dude, I told him right away, I'm like, dude, that was a joke. Like, you're taking a Hitler did nothing wrong joke seriously. And
okay,
he's like, and then he even made a follow-up video. He's like, I don't know if you're joking. I don't know if you're serious, but man, you just responded poorly. And I'm like, dude, I was obviously joking. Who takes Hitler did nothing wrong seriously?
Okay, but what I'm saying is when you pair that with the other things that you've said specifically about the Holocaust, it really starts to paint a bad picture. Do you not see that?
No, I don't see that.
Okay, that's a whole other.
Wait, where are we going?
That's a whole.
That is trying to go down a dark road.
But no, me criticizing him for his actions. Obviously, I'm calling him a Nazi and a Holocaust denier.
And finally, we're going to go to the hypocrisy chapter, where Battening criticizes No Bullshit for putting sponsored content in a video where he says the left is exploiting the tragedy. According to Battening,
and the 7 people who worked on this video,
that is hypocritical. However, it's not. You see, No BS made a video about the left exploiting a tragedy politically, and profiting off of that video is not exploiting the fucking tragedy.
Okay, just because you're not exploiting a tragedy in the same way that somebody else is exploiting a tragedy, does not mean that you're not exploiting it. If somebody is exploiting that tragedy for political gain, and then you exploit that tragedy by using that tragedy as a selling point for a VPN service, yes, you're exploiting that tragedy. You don't have to exploit something in the same way as somebody else is exploiting it in order to be exploiting it. So yes, this does make him a hypocrite. In fact, this is a very, very good example of him being a hypocrite.
Profit does not equal exploitation.
When you use the tragedy at hand as a selling point for a VPN service.
He pretends to be black. It's pretty fucking pathetic. Now, before we get to our last tweet, let's talk about your privacy for a minute. In this day and age with shootings and terrorism and hackings like the one at Equifax that released millions of people's private information to the world, online privacy is more important now than ever. That's why I teamed up with Virtual Shield again to offer you guys a great way to protect yourselves and your family.
Yes, that is exploitation.
He talks about the time and basically criticizes No BS because a quarter of his video is advertisement, but in the average news hour, a third of that hour is consumed by commercial breaks. So to me, it's hypocritical to call out YouTubers for embedding ads in videos, but not call out news agencies for embedding ads in their news hours.
Okay, number one, you continuously forget the actual point of this clip, which was to show the hypocrisy of No Bullshit, where he claims somebody is exploiting a tragedy while he uses that tragedy as a selling point for a VPN service. I'm pretty sure that everybody gets this by now. Even Brooks admitted that this was a pretty valid point in my video when we were on the cunt stream. But this is not all about just the moral implications of what he did in this video. And number two, we're not talking about Fox News and CNN. If NBC News would have came on during the shooting and they were like, well, there's 50 injured currently and the toll seems to be rising, and in this day of age, you really can't be too secure about anything, including the ingredients in your food. And that's why you should go to Subway, because all of their ingredients are extra fresh. That would be equivalent to what Brooks did. But again, we're not talking about Fox News. We're not talking about CNN. We're talking about Brooks and why he is a hypocrite. And this was a good example of that.
In closing, I want to bring up one other point that Battening made on the Warski stream. And that was, when you get criticized, it's your responsibility to watch that criticism and then respond if it's valid. I have clearly laid out a number of misrepresentations in your video.
Your video that, once again, it took 7 people to make.
So since you believe that response to criticism is something that you should do, I expect a response to my points that I made in this video.
My criticism to No Bullshit was that he didn't even watch my video, which of course validated one of my points that he can't handle criticism. Yet he went on complaining that I didn't make any valid points in my video. At that time is when I said you should respond to it. Respond to the actual points without asking people what the points were. With that being said, you didn't make a very good video. You took me out of context to prove a point that I was taking No Bullshit out of context. You put words in my mouth, you misunderstood my arguments, and you really hammered home a point that 7 people worked on this video full time, because in my description, I thanked 6 other people for contributing something to my video. It made it a little bit easier for me to make. This was a really, really bad point that you hammered home like a fucking dozen times. No Bullshit endorsed this really bad video, which doesn't really surprise me, but that's the reason why I even responded to it. So with that being said, I'll be back in a few weeks with a better video, hopefully better than this dog shit. I might even move this video to my second channel. I don't really know yet. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Goodbye.
Here it is, your moment is in.
Battening, he made a video about you, and he, like, you watched that video, I presume.
I could barely get through the first couple minutes.
You should really listen to some of the criticism on this one.